So I recently went to a party where everyone there was a hip hop dancer. I was brought as a +1 with my fiance who's been doing hip hop dance. And we were going around the circle talking, and everyone's talking about what they do for a living. And the guy right before me is saying how he now full-time walks on stilts for a living. Like he's built his own company where he teaches people how to walk on stilts, and he does parties. And everyone else is like, oh, I moved here from New York to teach hip hop dance for the first time, right? And so then it gets to me, and people are like, oh, what do you do for a living? You know, you're dressed cool. I was dripped out at the party, and I froze up because everyone's answer was so cool, and I was just like, oh, I'm in corporate. And the mood was totally killed, and people are like, okay, like, what do you do in corporate? And then my answer was even worse. It was, oh, I'm in HR. And I just froze up, and I stood there, and I absolutely, and everyone was just uncomfortable, and then the room kind of moved on, and that didn't just happen that one time. That was maybe like a month ago. It was actually this last weekend. My fiance and I go to an art show, and it's all artists, people who are doing art full time. And again, my fiance and I walk up, and they're like, oh, you two are so cool. What do y'all do for a living? And I'm like, oh, here we go again. And so I like let her go first, and she's, oh, I'm a hair artist, and everyone's vibing. And then, what do you do? And again, it was the same answer. And after the event, my fiance took me aside, and she was like, Kenny, you have to be more confident. You know, tell them what you do. You do HR, but you specialize in diversity, equity, and inclusion. You specialize in how people with different backgrounds can come together and be them best selves and come together as a community intentionally to level up together. And it's like, okay, well, when you say it like that, that's actually what I'm proud of. And also it's so interesting to hear, like, from her perspective, who is an artist, how what I do is cool in HR, because I actually do specialize in a cool area. It's just a different area today. That's such a hot topic with, you know, news came out this morning that Facebook or Meta canceled their DE&I program. And here I am keeping that alive in a global company and just dealing with a really important topic. I actually love what I do, but why am I so self-conscious telling other people what I do? I think an answer may come from a video that would have been posted yesterday. I auto-scheduled it 1 year ago. So it was one of those things where I was like, all right, I posted a video about where I thought I was going to be in a year, and I scheduled it to release 1 year later. That got released yesterday. And let me just tell you that in that video, I predicted that I'd have 10,000 subscribers, because at the time, that was at a point where I just realized that I just got success on TikTok, where I had probably 10 videos with over 1 million views. And I ended up not liking TikTok, and I thought that YouTube was a more intentional platform. And I still think YouTube is a better platform for it could be more meaningful. And so I was like, you know what, YouTube's a better platform. How noble would it be if I tried to take the success on TikTok and bring it to YouTube? And at the time, I was uploading videos every single day, and I was so dedicated, as that's the most important thing I could do. And I knew I had it in me, so I said I would have 10,000 subscribers by today. And today I have, I believe, 150 subscribers. It's embarrassing. A month after I posted that video, I stopped trying to reach that goal, and I knew that I had two options. I either delete that auto-scheduled video, or I leave it up, and deleting it just didn't seem real. It seemed like, you know, I've always hated how people, that idea that, you know, on Instagram, people are always just portraying their best selves, and it makes people feel worse about themselves. It's like, I don't want to do that anymore. I want to be real. So I can't, it doesn't sit right with me to remove it, but at the same time, it's going to be so embarrassing. And how am I going to answer for, you know, having 150 subscribers when I said I'd have 10,000? And, you know, going back to the idea of, you know, is that why I'm so self-conscious when people ask what I do for a living? You know, how cool would it be if, when we're going in that circle, it's like, oh, I'm a YouTuber. You know, that to me, even growing up, has always been one of the coolest things you can do. And what I've realized is that I actually am feeling really good about what I'm doing. And I hit on that, but there's a difference between how I feel about what I'm telling others I do versus how I feel about what I'm actually doing. I mean, I look at the last year, and in the last year, I got my blue belt in jiu-jitsu. And I remember I cried because that signified me being on a different life path. I helped move my entire family from Chicago to Houston. My mom, stepdad, and sisters, and that was not an easy transition. One of my sisters, which was not an easy transition, and they love their life now. I literally have my family here with me in Houston. I also got my yearly performance review last week, and I got my very first higher performance rating, which is only for the top, I believe, 20% of people in the company. So, and by the way, I started off in a place where I started off with the lower, meaning the lowest 10 or 20% of performers. I completely changed it around. So changed on my work performance. I participated in my first adult piano recital since I was a kid. And it's like, if I look at those things, I'm actually so proud of what I did in the last year. It's like, you know, I could have put all that energy into trying to get 10,000 subscribers. When I compare having 10,000 followers for what I was doing, which was just being healthy, which is great, and when it comes to making actual change, moving my family across the country, changing my job performance around, getting a blue belt in jiu-jitsu, those things I wouldn't trade for the world. And even though it's not as quote unquote successful when I'm going around that circle telling other people what I want to do, it is more meaningful in this way. I think about this a lot, and it is, you shouldn't think about, the question isn't how to be successful, but it's how to be useful. And I feel like with those three things, I became much more useful for my family, my job, and myself personally. I'm at a point now where I'm not even thinking about making YouTube videos. I didn't think I'd make another YouTube video, but I thought this was important because it just shows a maturity, and I feel like my goals have shifted to where now my biggest goal isn't trying to be a big YouTuber. To me, that's almost the wrong goal, because that's how can you be successful? You know, the whole idea of that YouTube video was YouTube's a better platform, and it's almost like I found an even better platform, which is, let me start with the loved ones around me first, and then things can trickle down on the platform. If I'm starting platform first, it's almost like the wrong order of operations. And so my goal is, when I now go around the circle and they ask me, Kenny, what do you do for a living? My answer is no longer just corporate. Or if it is corporate or HR, I bring out the passion of what I actually feel, what I know deep in my heart is right. I can bring out that I actually feel really good about what I'm doing because I'm the most useful, and I feel like connecting to knowing that I'm doing the right thing will come out in my answer and can maybe help other people in the circle. When it's about to get to them, they may feel like they have to posture about who they are or what they're doing in life, but it can make them feel good that the goal is no longer to have the coolest answer for what you do for a living, but rather just articulate how you believe you're being useful to the world. And that to me is cool. So now I'm looking forward to the next time someone asks me, what do you do for a living?